uh, take this into the power sector generation, we are possibly looking at about 18,000 megawatt of annual power generation just from this waste. If we look at the trend of growth, the decadal growth in this sector over the last 10 years, then from a $14 billion economy, the bioeconomy sector is now at around 165 billion and slated to be around 300 billion USD by 2030. That's some of the reports, citations. The fact that bioeconomy works, the ethanol is a case in point. The 20% blending of ethanol, I think we have achieved 5 years before time. So that basically indicates the opportunities in this sector. And of course, this sector provides a lot of new income opportunities for the farmers in both through the energy that's generated as also through carbon credits. And so we'll introduce the panelists. So today we have very distinguished set of panelists amongst us. We have Mr. Anmol Gupta. A small introduction about Mr. Gupta, like he is the founder of Biofield Power, a company focused on integrated agricultural and energy solutions. His startup is in collaboration with IIT Roper, right? Yeah. His work is centered on creating dual value systems for farmers, generating clean energy, while also focusing on biomass utilization. So we'll hear more from him as we proceed. Mr. Deepak Pareek is the founder of HnyB Tech-Incubations, an acclaimed technocrat and a World Economic Forum partner. Mr. Pareek is a serial entrepreneur in the agtech and social domain, deploying cutting-edge technologies like AI, blockchain, and IoT to create social and business values with the organizations that he associates. And we also have with us Ms. Pranjuli Garg, co-founder ProMeat, which is a smart protein startup focused on creating healthy, high-protein, and preservative-free plant-based meat alternatives, something that I'm sure we'll all be very excited to hear more from her as we move ahead. Her enterprise is an excellent example of high-value product development within the bioeconomy, creating market demand for specific crops and products, thereby offering sustainable means of protein. So together, these panelists provide a perfect blend of policy, of renewable energy, of market creation, grassroots innovation, and it's indeed a pleasure. It's going to be a pleasure, I'm sure, over the next few minutes, or maybe half an hour or so, we'll be looking at different facets of this bioeconomy in terms of the potential, the policy frameworks, the financing challenges, and as we listen to the experts. So maybe we begin with Mr. Deepak Pareek. We'll be basically interested to know from you. There's a specific question, Mr. Pareek, that we have for you. Just, I think I'll reset my phone. Yeah. So you incubate innovative technologies, right? So how can we reduce the technology risk and capital expenditure for grassroots entrepreneurs? Second, what role can financial institutions like NABARD or even other financial institutions play in financing pilots on a first of its kind basis? Given your expertise, we would be very keen to understand the nuances in this segment. Mr. Pareek.
Yes, sir. First of all, I would say, we work extensively with various large corporations, startups, governments, advising them on policy, integration of technology. And based on experience across multiple countries, when we start seeing waste as a waste in a country like India, this is the first mistake we do. The rural waste is not a problem in India. Realization of value of the waste is a problem. So when we start seeing waste as a waste, then actually we find that, I would say that the easiest and most comfortable way to get rid of it, right? Rather than seeing what value is there inside. And this is where also the financial institutions, specifically if they are not, I would say that, socialist or impact-driven financial institution, they see it as one of a project which then actually lose the shin as soon as the support from the government, support from philanthropic institution dries down, suddenly the project becomes unviable. I believe when you start seeing a waste as something which is having humongous potential, I'll just give you a basic example with the compressed biogas. Now we are having from waste, I've removed one part, now I'm having another waste, right? And that waste becomes a cost because those lagoons, one gets filled, that creates social unrest, problems, mosquitoes, and then the people who are surrounding, they say that get rid of it. And then you start looking for spending money to get rid of it. Unfortunately, agriculture cannot happen every day. The land preparation happens twice a year. And that is a time when actually you might be able to use slurry. Now, but the CBG plant works 24/7 because then only it can be commercially viable. Cow won't just give you cow dung, right, twice a year. They do it every year. So India's potential of 1.2 billion metric tons of cow dung, which I believe is brown gold. Now, are we funding it? The million-dollar question is that actually we have not been able to come out with innovative alternative financial mechanisms, right? It's not about funding pilots. Funding pilot has to be the job of a government to do it. And government has done it very well. They give subsidies, they ensure that actually sufficient fund was available through Govardhan scheme and all that. But now from scale up, right, you cannot start just thinking that actually I'm not going to be innovating in technology. I would not be converting that slurry into organic fertilizer. I would not be converting and extracting best piece out of it. But either I will dump it somewhere or I would use it something which I can burn because it is biomass. It is not going to give you viability. Whenever we see agriculture waste, even though you talked about 500 metric tons of agriculture waste, which comes from all the husk and the straws, we again start seeing it that can I convert it into something which can be burned. Burning is the last way of extracting value from anything. There are far more things. You can do biochar, convert into biochar. Biochar is a pretty 2,500 rupees a kg product. Are we doing that? So what I believe is that actually the alternative financing models and the financial institution, they need to be taught, trained to understand what is possibility. We work extensively in Germany. I'll give you an example of Germany. A couple of decades back, they thought that their soil needs to have organic carbon. Now, what is the way to get the organic carbon? The best way was to get actually the animal waste being given to the soil. And they didn't start it with the mindset that actually I'll create a compressed. Every unit produced, we'll give you subsidy so that actually you keep on running it for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And you start becoming more efficient because you want to create more electricity, more slurry with the same resource rather than actually burning. So I believe policy, understanding of financial institution that how to finance such initiatives, that is very important. Second, I believe is in country like India, where we are predominantly rural economy, we are having close to 130 million farmers. I believe the cooperatives are going to be the next big thing, even in mobilizing the rural waste economy. And how cooperatives would be doing that? We had example, whether you talk about previously we had cooperatives like Amul and all that. And now the modern way of putting, I would say that very similar, but a little bit change because of the new schemes, the FPOs. Now they are, I think, the torchbearer of engaging, aggregating, because aggregation is going to be a problem for anyone. And they would be able to mobilize it. The third aspect of, I believe, the financing is that actually we need to ensure that what we want to achieve eventually. Are our policy aligned? You talked about ethanol, 20% blending. How much of that is coming from waste? And you'll be surprised to know, zero. Not a single liter is ethanol 2.0, which comes from agriculture waste today in India. Whatever which is coming from waste is coming for aviation fuel, or that also one I don't want to name it, but a refinery which actually tried to do it and then they shut it down. And now on paper it works, but it's not working. our ethanol is coming from maize. Our ethanol is coming from grains. And if you ask me, like, we are in a dry state, but the best place to have a grain-based ethanol is in a glass, not in a car, right? Because we are actually having grain which is non-GMO grain, right? Which eventually costs more than actually GMO grain. And your car will not differentiate definitely whether it is a ethanol coming from a GMO or non-GMO grain. So I would say that the policy is great. E20 is environmentally fine, but is it addressing the rural waste economy? The answer is no. Now, this is where actually we have to differentiate that are we giving sufficient incentive? Because ethanol 2.0 currently, because the production numbers would be low, is 160 rupees a liter. At that price, would oil marketing company buy it or not? The answer is no. Now, this is where actually I believe the policy need to be tweaked to ensure that actually something which we created to be environmentally more friendly, we have to work on ensuring that there is sufficient support being given to ethanol 2.0, not just converting from maize or sugarcane also I'm still okay, because we have huge production of that. But from grain, I think that's not a great idea. It has to come from waste.
Yeah, thank you. That was indeed an eye-opener. Actually, you touched upon some very relevant and pertinent points, like many of us sitting here would already be aware of it. So one point that you have brought forth is the importance of policy alignment with the national priorities and the prerogatives and understanding of the entire ecosystem. You also talked about the importance of cooperatives. Of course, the Honorable Chief Guest with us yesterday, he did mention the significance of cooperatives and going ahead how India's economy, even the entire GDP, was dependent on the vibrant cooperative ecosystem. So taking it from there, and of course in NABARD, we do have a product specifically curated for this kind of projects. Some initiatives have been made in this segment. And there, of course, our experience was that as you rightly pointed out, it was not really the lack of technology for converting waste to wealth, but the de-risking of the projects. That's something very, very pertinent. Anyways, taking it from what Mr. Pareek had just mentioned, I'd move to Mr. Anmol. So you were in the logistics of biomass aggregation, right? So collecting, storing, transporting decentralized waste, and which is a major bottleneck for this kind of centralized projects. So how do you think can innovative models, probably involving local farmer-producer organizations or cooperatives, as he's just mentioned, overcome this challenge to ensure a predictable and a reliable feedstock supply? So your thoughts based on your experience.
Yeah. Hello everyone, my name is Anmol Gupta. So, but your question is, we are already doing, making solution of this. I give you example of from the last 2 months that, like we all know, paddy harvesting season is going on. In our startup, we are doing the management of paddy straw. I myself present in the field, and we have done a pilot of a startup in which we have managed 1,000 ton of paddy straw. Not with the conventional model, but with our digital model. Basically, what we are doing digitalization of biomass supply chain. We are kind of making Uber of the biomass. But we have done session with the farmer, understand what challenges they are facing, and I have made one WhatsApp bot in which farmer will put a request that, hi, my name is this is my location, and I have a paddy straw available in my field. Kindly come and pick it. So according to multiple requests, we have combined the multiple requests, and we are sending the baler to them. And baler is also onboarded with us. Like in Uber, car is onboarded. In our app, baler is onboarded, and we are giving planning to the baler that you have to go to this location today. You have to go to this location today. Like this, we are making this unorganized sector organized, and with the scale, we are doing multiple operations at the one time with the help of digitalization. After the baling, the major challenges is to do the pickup of that biomass bale which are left in the field. And farmers are doing, farmer always do hurry that pick it fast. In conventional system, what happen is that it all depend on the call. farmer are calling to the local biomass aggregator, and they come according to them. But in what our model, we are saying, we are sending message to the farmer that your billing will be done on this date, your biomass pickup will be done on this date. Like this, farmer is having also assurance that my biomass will be get picked at this date. And with this, we have done complete digitalization from end to end. We have made a cluster of 15 villages in which we have collected the biomass and put it in one storage center. I have leased the land of 4 acre near to this 15 villages where we have collected this biomass. So with this, what happened that we have collected biomass quickly and stored it. And from that storage, there is a reliable supply to the industry. So best part, what we have done, we have collected the biomass in the organized way, and we have assured to the industry also. Industry can see live on our platform that this much biomass has been aggregated, this much biomass is on the road. We have also placed GPS tracking device on the combine machine, baler, all the trolleys which are transporting. So all things are getting monitored by us also and by the industry also. Like this, we are making complete traceability. And what motiva biomass aggregation is happening earlier also. But we are doing, we are making it a organized sector. It's very fragmented and on the call. So digitalization, I think digitalization are key to achieve to solve this problem on a scale. And with this, we can help industry to switch from coal to biofuel. If industry is giving reliable supply of the biofuel, I think no industry will use coal. And like this, I'm also very happy to say that I have created more than 20 plus employment on local village level in this pilot. Like I have onboarded that supervisor, farm supervisor. I have onboarded tractor driver and baler driver. I have onboarded security guard for my storage center. Like this, I have created more than 20 plus employment. And once fixed KPI has been made, this model can be replicated to whole India. Doesn't matter which crop is there. It can replicate to wheat straw, paddy straw, mustard husk, and sugarcane trash. Right now we are working on sugarcane trash. Like as the paddy straw season over, it doesn't mean that our shop is closed. It's working to manage all agriculture waste. This is where our entry is coming into the field. That local aggregator only stick to paddy straw. But there is an opportunity in other crops also, which I have seen myself present on the ground. So, and any industry want that. The best part is. So this is all about, I can say. Yeah.
So that was actually indeed heartening to know, because most of our experience in this sector centers around the fact that many of the producers suffer from a lack of biomass, during a large part of the season. Because it's primarily confined. If we look at the paddy straw, that's primarily confined to 2 or 3 months, and after that, one doesn't really know where the feedstock comes from.
Exactly.
So very heartening to know. Yeah. You have also talked about creating employment opportunities and, of course, utilizing other forms of biomass. So that gives us a lot of hope in this segment moving forward, especially with the focus which the government of India is presently laying to this sector. Right. So with that, maybe we move on into the product segment. Like we have seen how Mr. Anmol is facilitating the value chain, the FPOs, the overall ecosystem. Now we move on to Ms. Pranjuli is the third co-panelist that we have with us. So your focus is on high-end products. During the introduction, we did mention about she being leading organization called ProMeat, which is a plant-based startup. So how do we ensure that the premium created at the consumer end of this bioeconomy is effectively transmitted back to the rural segment? So how do we do that? So that there is a better incentivization to take up better waste management practices. So your thoughts on that?
First of all, thank you, Sanjay sir, and NABARD team for inviting me for this panel. I'm very, very grateful to be here with the esteemed panelists. So a quick introduction about myself. So I run a company called ProPlant Foods. Our brand name is called ProMeat, where we create high-protein plant-based products from India's indigenous crops, including mung bean protein, pea protein, soy protein, wheat fibers, and oat fibers. So now I think how exactly us as a brand can give value back to the farmers is something that we have actually worked and thought about a lot in the last 4 years of us being in presence. So I think first thing is definitely that now that we already have certain products which are out there in the market, first thing is that we do promote domestic protein supplies, and we create an ecosystem where domestic protein is actually demanded for. When we started out, we used to import protein from Netherlands and few other countries where the right grade of protein was actually being provided for the product like ours to be created. So we use a process called extrusion to actually create our products, which requires a very specific grade of protein, which would add the texture to the product. So now these kind of protein sources which are essentially required to create value added products is something that is not really available in India at this point of time. There are very few players in the protein industry who are creating products which are sports nutrition certified or which have the right purity. So majority of protein that is domestically made in India is actually having a purity of between 80 to 85%, whereas imported proteins have a purity of about more than 90%. So there is a clear demarcation in terms of the right quality of ingredients. And I think how exactly we can give back to the farmers by creating this demand is that we as companies who are in the protein space, we really need to work with agri researchers to find the right ways and the right protocols on how exactly to create high protein yielding crops. And then we give this information back to the farmers is something that really needs to be done at this point. And I think another very, very important thing is that right now, if you see any grain which is high in protein that is sold by farmers is somewhere around, you can say 45 to 60 rupees per kg, and the protein that is imported from outside is actually 500 rupees per kg. So I think there is a huge value gap that we can actually fulfill in India at this point of time. There is a very big protein market out there which can be easily tapped by the India's indigenous crops. There is a huge potential, but I think there is a very big gap in terms of value creation. Another very important thing is that if the government can actually fund certain pilots on a village level and make sort of the value addition of grains decentralized, in terms of if the farmers are actually able to take the soybeans, do the dehulling, and do all the basic processing that is required between the crop and the value addition, and if the farmers are doing at a village level, I think that would give them a much higher value and actually a value bump of almost 3 to 5x compared to them just selling the soybean itself. So I think that is where us as brands can actually increase the demand of protein, put a pressure where these decentralized units can be put on a village level, and then we can get a value added grain itself. So that would also give sort of incentivize farmers to actually create high protein yielding crops, and it would also benefit us because we won't have to really rely on imported soy proteins. So I think that is definitely one thing. Other than that, I think there is also additional cash flows that can be generated in this segment for the farmers as well, because right now if you see, there is almost 500 million tons of crop residues are being generated annually in India, but almost 140 million of that is actually going to waste. 92%, 92 million tons is actually getting burnt. So there is a lot of value that can be added there. On those terms, if farmers are actually producing high protein crops instead of burning, the government can actually provide certain sustainability premium to them for actually avoiding that and creating grains which are actually value added. So I think that is where us as a brand can promote India's domestic protein instead of going ahead with imported proteins. And I think that's what we are trying to do at a brand level and at a trying to promote Indian proteins.
Thank you. So that is actually very exciting. So we just heard a talk about the huge value gap, both in terms of the volume, both in terms of quantity, and as also the price realization, the price gap that could be possibly harnessed by our farmers, as also looking at the opportunities of high value crops and how government policies could possibly incentivize it. So we'll have a quick round of questions, like one. Yeah, please.
See, I totally agree with you that actually the value addition is way forward for Indian agriculture. But the problem is that we have said that actually the farmers to do the value addition or processing. The unfortunate reality is that actually in case I have to invest. Now I'll default to NABARD and 50 crore CBI, right? And then actually I'm running post to pillar just because of changing the government policy. I'll just give you an example of what has happened. We supported sugarcane based ethanol. Then we stopped diversion of any syrup or molasses to production of ethanol because we thought the prices of sugar will go up. Now suddenly majority of those plants, right, they were not having raw material. Now they have moved to maize. You never know if the maize price, right, goes very high. Poultry Industry Association comes and do the dharna. Suddenly we'll say that actually let's stop diversion of now maize also to ethanol plant. So I believe people will invest, right? And you are talking about risk, right? The biggest risk is the policy, right? And I believe the stakeholders here and NABARD is here, right? Until unless we have a clarity and codified. I'm not saying that the government is having all the reason, right, in case the prices goes up to do the intervention, but codify it. In case the price goes 10% above MSP, this is what we'll be doing. So as an entrepreneur, I know I've invested this money, now price is that, what is my alternative? But currently what is happening is that the codification is not there, opacity in the policy, and you will be surprised, whether it's a soybean farmer or the soybean industry, they will every Friday, when possibly a GUM would be happening, would be sitting with the straw breath actually is, what is the new policy? Yellow peas, maximum extraction protein happens from there. We stopped, we allowed, we again put duty, now there is a talk that we'll again stop it. Now this is where actually it makes very difficult for private sector to make investment, right, in such projects.
Yeah, very pertinent. And I think Mr. Pareek has just mentioned something very relevant, and it could be a very decent takeaway from this discussion, the policy consistency and some option that you have suggested to address this. So do we have time for a quick round? We can? So a quick round of questions, you have been mentoring, I was personally very keen to know about this. You have been mentoring a lot of agtech and climate tech startups. So what kind of solutions do you see could be closest to changing the landscape in the rural economy? A quick response to this.
Yeah. Biorefinery. Every waste is having so many things which can be extracted, right? It doesn't need always to be seen as a mass which need to be burned. We can extract from high value amino acids, right? We can do a lot of different type of extraction, and these are not very high cost technologies, right? It can be decentralized. You have to start looking waste, biorefinery, rural engagement, training, and cooperatives. This completes the cycle.
Thank you. That was very well summarized. Mr. Gupta, from your experience, you have been in this segment for quite some time, been working with a whole lot of stakeholders. So from your experience, which type of biomass or waste to energy products, maybe out of biogas, bio-CNG, power, heat, that seem most practical and scalable in the context of rural India? Quick response on this.
First of all, government is pushing towards a paddy straw. Industry is also supporting to switching to paddy straw. If I give example of a big company like Vardhaman is setting up a paddy straw based boiler so that they can get rid of coal and switch toward the sustainability. And like this, many companies are also going into this. The place where I am supplying the biomass is the ethanol plant. That Hygiena Life Science, they have a mandate to do all the operation around the sustainability. So they are using paddy straw based boiler. They are using solar energy for the electricity. Like this, they are switching to a sustainability. So the question which you have asked me,
which would be the technology, or which would be the segment that you think would be the more scalable in the context of rural India? From your experience, I mean.
Using it in a boiler.
Okay.
I think it's the most scalable because boiler is everywhere. We have to do just adjustment changes because that biomass produce ash. So we have to do the management of ash also because it's having a silica present. So using biomass in the boiler is the most well used case.
Yeah. Thank you. That was well summarized. And a quick question for you. So for companies like yours to source from rural India and reduce the agri-waste, what kind of partnerships or infrastructure support do you think would make the biggest difference?
I think for us, a major part of the operations is actually sourcing the raw material, which is in terms of the right crops. So I think in terms of infrastructure, the best thing that could help brand like ours source better materials would be actually having FPOs who can provide us with the right grade of materials, right grade of crops that are required by us. That would only happen if there are, the quality standards of these crops are defined really well. So I think that is one thing. And on another level, I think there is a requirement of quality like testing on this level, on the grassroots level, so that we have the right grade of product with us at all times. We don't have to go looking for more labs and more tests which are required for us to get the right grade of ingredients. So I think those are the two key supports that would be like more beneficial. Yeah.
Thank you. So as we move on to the closing moments of this discussion, a very, very exciting and enriching discussion, one would say. But like, if I would like to request you to point out one challenge that you see, one specific challenge that you see for the sector to grow the way we envisage it to grow, what would you pin it down to? Yeah.
Yes, so
I'll
I would say
just one challenge.
I would say definitely it is the policy. And also investment and funding, right, which is, I would say, dovetail to innovations and efficiency rather than just the comfort, right, what we are doing today.
Yeah. Thank you. Same question, Mr. Anmol. Yeah.
Yeah. And the most important challenge which I have faced is the behavior change of the community. Like farmer is looking that agriculture residue as a waste, but ultimately it's a valuable product. We can make value. Farmer can improve his economics with that. Industry can switch to sustainability with that agriculture residue. They can rid of the coal. And as much as biomass is used in the industry, that much amount of coal we are reducing in the industry. Ultimately, we are reducing that pollution. So behavior change is a major thing which I say is a major challenge. Yeah.
Yeah. Very well capsulated. Yes. Same for you.
I think a major shift is required in terms of mindset, because I think for brands like ours, what we've noticed is that majority of companies are looking for imported proteins only. They don't have the belief that we can actually curate the level of good quality proteins in India itself. Nobody is actually ready to develop vendors here. So what we as a brand are trying to do is we are trying to work with local protein manufacturers to actually, develop the right grade of protein. So I think it's the mindset shift that is much more required. I think government is already doing a lot in terms of providing the fundings and providing all of the schemes, but I think brands on a mindset level that we have to use Indian ingredients and we have to develop vendors is something that's really, really important right now.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I think very, very important challenges that have been covered. We just heard them talking about policy consistency, the importance of financial instruments addressing those challenges. We heard about behavioral changes, and of course, again, she mentioned about the mindset changes. Again, a little bit about the behavioral changes. So with that, we come to the close of a very, very exciting session. So a big round of applause for our panelists, please.
Thank you, everyone. Looking forward. Yeah.